So when I'm working with a client, with an endurance athlete, there's generally just 3 supplements that are kind of my go-to supplements to start with. And these change client to client, and that's one good reason why I get to kind of assess their diet and see what they need, assess any other medical issues or just conditions they're dealing with, and also kind of how much they're training, that sort of thing. But just to kind of boil that down and to start, 3 things I'm usually recommending. One is a good quality multivitamin. I have my multivitamin here. I really like the Rainbow Light brand, but there's lots of other good brands too. What I'm looking for is that it's food-based for one, if possible, and that it's just a good, well-rounded mineral multivitamin. A couple things to look for in yours is that it does have, a lot of B vitamins, C vitamin, at 100% or more. Those you just pee out if you get too much, so those are fine. I like to see vitamin D at least at 800 international units. That's 800 international units. That will give us a good start. A lot of times during the winter and fall we need more than that, but that will at least be kind of a year-round good amount to get in a vitamin. Also what I'm looking for is, if possible, if it has probiotics added to it, then that is great because that's one less pill we have to take. You can get probiotics, that's the healthy gut bacteria that is in your gut and just does a whole host of things for your body. But one thing that's important to the endurance athlete is probiotics actually decrease the incidence of respiratory infections, mono, that sort of thing. It's because there's a immune factor that becomes low in our bodies, and it affects the level of probiotics in our guts. So we actually do need to supplement those conditionally as athletes. I like to find a pill like this one that has probiotics added into it. They're freeze-dried, so they are not harmed if they're left out in the room temperature. And it's just a good thing to have added because that's one less pill. So that's what I start with, a good multivitamin with probiotics if possible. If not, then that's something we are going to supplement or consistently eat yogurt daily in order to get enough. The next one is fish oil, and I've done a whole video about fish oil, but just in general, for most people, I'm advising about 200 milligrams of DHA and EPA in combination per day. Now those are specific omega-3s, so that's not total omega-3s, and like I described in that video, you have to look at the back and look for EPA and DHA specifically, and we're going for, if you're not a fish eater, at least 2,000 milligrams per day. If you are a fish eater, at least a couple times a week, that can go down towards 1,000 milligrams per day. So really those are the 3, probiotics, multivitamin, and fish oil. Now for a lot of athletes, especially the women, but this happens in high-level training men as well for sure when we talk about endurance athletes, iron would be the other one. Iron, or lack thereof, has a direct effect on your performance. It has everything to do with your body's ability to perform because oxygen needs to get to all your muscles, to recover afterwards because oxygen needs to get to all your muscles, and to heal if you should become injured or sick because oxygen needs to get to all your muscles. So it's a very, very important mineral in our diets, and it tends to be low in athletes. In fact, anytime I've had a female athlete go ahead and get tested, and usually what I test for or have them tested for is serum ferritin. That, in my opinion, is the best indication of iron storage status and what affects performance. Now, the test, within normal limits range, starts at 10 micrograms per deciliter all the way up to 130. Well, this is fine for the general population, but what we see is a decline in performance at any point below 30. And more optimal performance at 50 and above. So for the endurance athlete who really depends on oxygenated muscles and cells, we're really looking for at least 30 micrograms per deciliter. I've never, maybe twice, had a female who I've never had one test without supplementation at the 50, maybe twice at the 30, they're almost always lower. So that's just to put that out there. And it's even worse among runners because the foot strike of running actually breaks down red blood cells and causes a loss of iron. Now this is not to say that men don't come and encounter these problems as well. So it is something that if you're doing a physical and getting blood drawn, it's definitely worth testing. You'll find on my blog I do a whole breakdown of iron and who should go ahead and start supplementing, who should get tested and then supplement if needed. Vegetarians, of course, anyone who doesn't eat red meat because that's the highest bioavailable source of iron, meaning we absorb it best. So a vegetarian who doesn't eat any red meat would also be at high risk, especially with that combination of no red meat plus endurance athletics. So those are the three. So that fourth one being more of a special case, but it does occur a lot. That's kind of my breakdown and my recommendations on the basics of supplements.